2, 3, Bueno, sí.
Hello everybody, this is Gamalier, broker realtor with Sturgis Realty Group.
And I'm Alan Rios. I'm the realtor with Sturgis Realty Group right here in Metro Atlanta.
And Alan, today we have a really good topic. You know, a lot of times we work with a lot of investors here at the Sturgis Realty Group, especially those investors who are the first-time investors and they have a lot of questions. And those investors who are working a full-time job, because obviously that's where how they make their money, they're thinking about investing in real estate, but they don't know how to. And you know, they just don't put the time. And today we're going to talk about how can you invest in real estate when you're a full-time employee. And we'll tell you a little bit more about how you could do it, you know, and put a time if you're going to do it yourself. But also we're going to talk about how you could do it, use professional and be hands-off, and you don't have to put too much time and get a monthly check every month.
Yeah, so let's get right to the question, Gamalier, as we mentioned, how to invest in real estate if I have a full-time job. Let's talk about one of the most important factors, and that's having the right team on your side. So number one would be having a realtor that specializes in investment properties.
And that's so important, Alan, because obviously not every agent is built the same. You know, when you talk about investment property, there's a lot of agents that don't even own an investment property.
That's true.
So obviously they can't help you if they're not done a transaction themselves. But you know, you want to make sure you work with someone who's been doing that for a while, also who have different resources to help you. And having a team is so important.
It is. Another part of that team, Gamalier, has to be the right loan officer, right? A loan officer that deals with investment properties. They may have programs that suit you the best when it comes to purchasing that property.
Yeah, and they can answer your question and they're familiar with the process.
Yeah.
And most important, like you mentioned, they have different loan programs that fit investors.
Exactly. Another important factor, Gamalier, has to be having the right attorney on your side, right? An attorney that knows the documents real well when it comes to purchasing an investment property. So that's a very important part.
That is very important because when it comes to investment, you're going to see a lot of different contracts, a lot of different structures, a lot of different ways that investment properties are sold or bought. Yeah. So you work with an attorney who's very familiar and seen a lot of those contracts of investments.
Yeah, and another part of having the right team member is an accountant, right?
That's very
So when you're
important.
buying an investment property, tax incentives are a big factor when it comes to purchasing an investment property, right?
As a W-2 employee, you're already paying high taxes.
You are.
And obviously, if you don't own a business, you know, you're not getting some incentive.
Yeah.
And when Uncle Sam knocking the door, he wants his tax money at the end of the year. By having investment properties, you could take a lot of incentive, like tax incentive write-off that you can't take as an owner-occupant property. Like for example, when you do repairs in your primary home where you live, you can't write that off.
No.
But if you have an investment property, those are write-off that you could take. So there's a lot of incentive when it comes to owning investment properties.
Yeah, exactly. Well said there, Gamalier. Another important team member, I should say, right, is a home inspector. Having a professional home inspector check out your investment property. You want to know how old is that roof, how's the electrical, how's the plumbing, what's going on behind the walls, the attic, and so forth, right?
And this is so important because obviously you're buying an investment property. You want to make sure you know that property and what repairs need, how much it costs. That's how you could estimate the cost of a property. But it's so important. You don't want to hire your uncle or a contractor to do an inspection, right? Because you want to have, like Adam mentioned, a professional inspector who's going to look at foundation, who's going to look at the windows, roof, plumbing, everything. That way, they will give you a report. And the good thing about this report is not only tells you what's happening with the property, but also it help us, the agent, to negotiate some of those repairs and get those done, or some credit for closing also.
Exactly. A very important part of the team. So those are the team members when we talk about hiring the right team when it comes to purchasing that investment property. All right, another factor when it comes to investing in real estate while having a full-time job has to be motivation and planning, Gamalier.
That is so important because a lot of people that I know, they may go to a seminar, they may be part of an association, and they may have read a book, but they had not taken action, right?
Yeah, and it happens to a lot of people.
It's so important. So here in the Sturgis Realty Group, we work with first-time investors, but we also work with sophisticated investors that own multiple property in portfolio. We help them create a strategy that not only creates more income into the property. Definitely, when it comes to cash flow, equity, there's different strategies that you could take as an investor, and also creating a higher rent and doing the right repairs to the property. So we help you with all this to make sure that you have a good plan in action, but also you're getting the maximum return on all your properties.
And what's most important, Gamalier, out of all of this, it's absolutely free. We provide free consultation right here in the Sturgis Realty Group. So don't hesitate to give us a call. Have a question or comment, leave it below the video. We'll gladly answer that, at least get you started. I know some people out there maybe watching this video may be a little bit timid as far as, I don't want to ask a particular question and sound like I don't know anything. We're here to help you.
Questions are so important,
yeah, very important.
And that might be a question that somebody may have in their mind they have not asked.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about another factor when it comes to investing in real estate while having a full-time job. And one of those is avoiding mistakes, Gamalier, right? Nobody wants to make a mistake.
Yeah, and that's a big one, I would say. And I can tell you, for someone who's been over 20 years, I've done them all. I've done all the mistakes, and obviously that's how you learn in this industry. But if you don't have to commit them yourself, let me make them and save you money. Because when you avoid a mistake, not only are you saving money, but you're saving a lot of time also.
Yeah, and one of the factors when it comes to avoiding mistakes is not knowing the numbers, right?
Yes.
So are you making the right purchase price on a home? Is the price equivalent to what some of the comps are saying in the neighborhood? What is the rental income looking like once you make this purchase? Those are the numbers we're talking about.
And Alan, one thing that I tell everybody is when they're buying a home, you're buying a home, you're going to know the numbers. We're going to break down all the numbers like Alan was mentioning. You already know the numbers ahead of time, even before you put that house in the contract, because we're going to break down everything as far as how much can this home get in rent in that neighborhood? Can you do any repair to maximize the rent of that home? Obviously your mortgage payment, if you're using a loan, where you're going to be, what cash flow you may have, expenses by the income, what equity growth or potential you have in this particular neighborhood, what areas may be best for your risk factor. Whether you're in your 20s, you're in the 70s, we create a plan that is specific to you, to this individual, because not everybody's the same. We all are entering investment into different ages of life.
Exactly. Well said there, Gamalier. And another mistake that's pretty common is hiring an inexperienced agent. Now, we talked about in the very beginning having an experienced agent and a great team surrounding you. This is the total opposite right now. Hiring someone who has no experience, who's just kind of going with the flow and making a lot of mistakes along the way.
And Alan, that's so important because, I see it all the time where, some of the investors there, especially they're starting to invest, but they're working with an agent that doesn't know the numbers in the area. And unfortunately, thinking that you may be able to get this potential rent. And then when they buy the property, they close, and they may come for us. We a division of property management. They see that that's not the rent they could get. And now we have a negative cash flow, and that's what obviously some of the mistakes happen.
We hear
like
that
I mentioned. You know the numbers, that's very important before you put this property on the contract. You know all the numbers and the right strategy, but again, you got to work with someone who's familiar with those numbers. And here at the Sturgis Realty Group, the good thing is that we have another sister company, which is called Solution Property Management, that they specialize in helping you when it comes to renting the property, screening tenant, putting the tenant in place, handling all the repairs for you, and doing all those things to make it easier for you also.
Oh yeah, much, much easier when you have a rental management group that's taking control of your investment property. All right, a third mistake, Gamalier, that people make. They think it's, I want to get rich real quick. What can I do? I mean, I saw this late night program. A guy said, just come to the seminar. No money down, no experience, bada bing, bada boom, right?
And you have a check in your hand, right?
Yeah.
And that, it's funny because nowadays, obviously, HGTV, you see that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They're flipping a property in 30 minutes.
I love watching those shows too.
They're buying the property, they're fixing it, they're selling it under 30 minutes, and now you have a $100,000 check. The reality is it's not as easy, right?
No,
obviously, you got to put the time, it's time consuming, but what helps is when you're working with the right professional that can alleviate a lot of those headaches and make the process more smoothly for you.
Exactly. So yeah, it's not a get rich quick strategy when it comes to investing in real estate. As we mentioned, it does take time, does take a little effort, but you'll reach those goals eventually.
You definitely do.
Gamalier, one of the factors that we see when we talk to people who are interested in investing in real estate, And this is a factor that holds people back from investing, and that is fear. You know, fear of the unknown, and a lot of that has to do is just not having the education and knowing the steps, the procedures that go with investing in real estate.
Yeah, you definitely have to take action. Obviously, one thing that you got to understand when you're doing anything, you know, like when you're starting a new job, you know, you don't know something, it's going to take more time.
Yeah.
And also, there's some what I call uncomfortable. You got to get uncomfortable because this is something new, something you have not done.
Yeah.
And in investing in real estate, there's a lot of things to learn.
There is.
Yeah. And obviously, over time, you're going to get better, and you know, you're going to get help from the right people to build up. To do different strategies and to do different things. So it's very important education. Education is very important. Like listening to this video now, like we're talking about now, reading some books, those are things that they're very important factors. So you definitely need to educate yourself. The more you know, the better you would do.
Yeah, I mean, just digging in online, just, you know, Googling certain topics related to investing in real estate, you'll find a lot of questions being answered there for you. And also reaching out to us here at the Sturgis Realty Group as well will help you get started. All right, another factor that holds people back from investing, Gamalier, would be not having enough money for a down payment. Right?
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
How much money do we need to buy an investment property?
Normally, obviously, if you're getting a loan, you know, you normally have to put 20%. In some banks, they could go as low as 15%. Yeah. But that's a chunk of money, right?
It is.
Especially here in Atlanta, where, you know, most properties are, you know, over 200. So that's in some other areas that are cheaper, but here, you know, it's a big chunk of money. But there's different strategies you have to do. Don't let that hold you back. One of those strategies is, obviously, if you already own a home, you can actually convert that into an investment property.
You can, yeah.
And then move into another property and buy another property. When you occupy the other property, down payment is a lot less.
Yes.
Another factor also that you could do if you don't have the down payment money, you could also look into different options like seller financing too, where you don't have to put a big down payment.
Yeah, owner financing.
You know, that's maybe an option that you could negotiate too. So there's different things you could do. And also if you have a family member, right, or a friend that has a little bit of money, you may have a 401k that you could use. So there's different strategies you could do, and we could help you, you know, sit down and come up with a strategy, making sure that this doesn't hold you back.
Exactly. You know, just, you know, answering some of your questions out there, we can kind of guide you in the right direction. So yeah, it's a lot of information, but, you know, we're only a phone call away if you are interested in investing in real estate. Another thing that holds people back, though, Gamalier, and we see it a lot, not just with investments or people who are looking to invest in properties, but people who are looking to buy a primary home, and that's the credit score.
Yeah, that's a big one, obviously.
Credit score is a huge factor. Because let's tell them why. Why is credit score such a big
first
factor?
of all, credit is nowadays used for everything. Whether you're looking for a job,
yeah.
Even if you qualify for your utilities, you know, you're buying a car, any major expense, anything you're buying, they're gonna look at your credit. So, you know, at first I tell people you definitely want to work on the credit and try to negotiate. If you have any collection of, you know, or something, call your credit card. Sometimes they forget one late. There's different things you could do to strategize to, you know, obviously to work on fixing that credit. But, you know, there's also things you could do, like, you know, if you have other people who are willing to come up with you and buy a house, you know, you could put together. And we're talking about primarily investment property.
Yeah.
So you could come together and they may have good credit, you may have the income, and come together, create a company and buy a property through the company. There's different things you could do. Or we talked about earlier, seller financing. If somebody, you know, there's owners out there who are selling the property, who are being the bank, who are willing to finance the house.
Yeah.
So you could come in and give a down payment.
Usually a larger down payment.
A larger down payment because more risk on their end.
Yeah.
But they will finance and be the bank. And a lot of times they don't care as much for the credit. They care more if you can afford to make the payment. But there's many options you could do. Definitely don't let credit hold you back.
Yeah, so that covers a lot there, Gamalier. I know we provided, again, a lot of information on how to invest in real estate while you have a full-time job. So, you know, when you think about all the stuff that we have brought up today, you know, to kind of conclude this video, you know, hey, you can make this almost like a full-time gig if you wanted to. Investing in real estate, you have that option of making it part-time, or you can make it hands-off, right?
Yeah, like, and it, it's a very important factor because you have to consider if you love real estate, you could jump on it and also,
Sure.
like Adam mentioned, do it full time. Sometimes people leave their job, become a full investor, or if it's something that you do and love, if your career, if you're doing something that's making you money, you should focus on what you love and what you do best, and create a hands-off strategy, which means that you have a company like us find you the property, handling the repair, handling all the managing, handling the tenant, collecting the rent, and creating a cash flow where you get just a monthly income every month, a tax strategy, and something that you could pass along to your family in the future. And you're creating an investment that's giving you money every month and good retirement money, and you don't have to work on be invested or handle tenants or take late night phone calls. You could pretty much create a strategy to be hands off and focus on what you do the best, which is your job.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, purchasing this investment property, it's not like you have to turn around and sell it, like in a year or two or a few years down the road. This is something you can pass on basically from generation to generation.
Yeah.
And that's one way that they can build wealth over time.
Yeah, and talk about, like we talked about earlier, there's also tax incentive when you own investment property that you could use against the income that you make also. It's a business. So, and also, like Anna mentioned, it's something you could pass along to your loved ones in the future too.
All right, so can you invest in real estate while having a full-time job? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we just kind of provided that for you today in this video. So hopefully we answered some of those questions that have been kind of stirring in your head. If you have any additional questions, comments, leave them below, or give us a direct call here at Sturgis Realty Group. We put the number right here, right below us, and reach out to us. We're available.
Thank you for watching the video. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bueno, sí.